I attempted to walk 100,000 steps in less than 24 hours. Here's how it went. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and put this into context. 100,000 steps is roughly 50 miles. For people back at home in Maryland, to put this into context for you, that would be roughly walking from Frederick, Maryland to DC. And for people that are familiar with Maryland, then that would also put into context walking from Baltimore all the way down to DC, plus another 12 miles. For people that aren't from Maryland, the rest of my viewers, and probably the majority of my viewers, let's also put this into context. There's 86,400 seconds in a day, which means in order for me to accomplish this, I have to maintain a pace of more than 1 step per second over the course of 24 hours. Now, before we do go any further, I do want to throw out a disclaimer here. 100,000 steps is a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot, but after I put it into the context that I have, hopefully you understand that this isn't something you can just pick up and do on a random Saturday. It's something that you have to prepare for, and I don't advise anybody just going out on their own and trying to accomplish 100,000 steps without a plan in place and training first. And even with that in place, be prepared for an absolute battle. What is going on? It is currently 4:19 and I am starting the 100,000 step challenge. We're going to probably be doing some steps indoors on the walking pad just to get us started, and then we'll go ahead and take it outside around 6 a.m. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I was pretty ready to get started with my day, and in order to do that, I went ahead and began my regular supplementation routine, which consists of taking fish oil pills, vitamin D, creatine, and fiber. And once I took this, I pretty much got on the step pad and got to work. And preparing for something like this required me to actually consider things like packing snacks, water, as well as anything that I might need like sunscreen or whatever it may be inside of a backpack the day prior to actually going through with this challenge. In preparation for this, I was also sure to walk more than my regular allotted steps. Typically going into this, I was walking 20,000 steps a day, which is roughly 10 miles per day. And I maintained that pace for about 2 to 3 weeks. And of course, I was thinking this over week, trying to set a realistic but difficult goal of 16 hours or somewhere inside of the 16-hour range from start to finish. All right, we are about 10,000 steps in, and so far, I gotta say that I'm feeling good, or at least as good as normal, knowing that only about 90% of you have hit that subscribe button, so be sure to do that. A couple of things to mention here. First of all, apologies for the shaky camera. I have to keep walking because right now I'm about 2 hours in and about 10,000 steps in, which means I'm 10% of the way done. However, I expect to cover more ground once I start taking things outside. You might be wondering why I wasn't walking outside this morning. Besides it being dark and a little bit cooler and not wanting to carry a ton of clothes inside of a backpack, you know, I live a little hood adjacent. That's just a joke. I don't live in the best area, I live in the city, so you know, you never know what you're gonna run into at 4 a.m. So I just figured it'd be easier to walk indoors, particularly on the step pad, but we are gonna take things outside here in just a second. So I'm gonna go ahead, eat, and then I'm gonna charge my watch because I have an Apple Watch, and we'll see where the day takes us. One thing that I have noticed is boredom is gonna be an issue. Time moves quicker and slower somehow. So what I was doing while I was walking these steps was watching South Park and kind of just enjoying myself. I'll probably have my headphones in whenever I'm walking out in public, and that way I can kind of just distract myself from all the steps that I'm walking. As you can see, before I went out and walked outside, I did make sure to charge my Apple Watch, and of course I got some calories in. If you're interested in seeing what my full day of eating looked like that day, I did post a short on May 11th, I believe. It was this previous Sunday, and that kind of broke down everything that I ate throughout the day. And if you did see the short, then you probably noticed that it looked a little bit more randomly thrown together things to eat that day, but it was actually a little bit more meticulous than you would think. My goal there was to make sure that I was getting in enough fats so I could increase my calories, getting in adequate protein, and of course, getting in enough carbs to keep me energized throughout the day. All right, we're about 25,000 steps in. It's about 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. And I'm making way better time walking outside. I'm a little bit winded because I just went up some stairs, but besides that, man, I feel pretty good. This feels very achievable, and yeah, it's a beautiful day. Perfect day to be doing this challenge, and we're just gonna keep it going. And as you can see, after 25,000 steps, I was feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm probably 12 and a half miles at that point, and mentally and physically, I was feeling pretty determined that I was gonna hit my goal time and even just finish the challenge in general, right? I mean, 50 miles is quite a distance to go, you know, especially in a 24-hour period. And overall, I was happy with the timing that I was making, especially whenever you consider the fact that walking on the step pad earlier on in the day probably slowed my progress more than if I was just outside walking and staying determined out and about. All right, just a little check-in. About 41,000 steps in, feeling pretty good so far. I am gonna go back to the house. I'll probably walk some steps there, but I'm starting to get a little bit too hungry right now. It's only about 10:30, 10:45, so probably wait like another hour before I actually get inside and start walking on the walking pad again, but I wanted to check in before I got back. Let's keep it going. All right, I'm about 45, just shy of 45,000 steps in. You can see I'm pacing around in the apartment now. I had to use the bathroom. I also had to rehydrate. I didn't have enough water with me because having that weight on my back, I felt like would slow me down too much. So since I'm only about 5,000 steps away, I'm gonna go ahead and knock those out on the walking pad. It's still not noon yet, so my goal is to get close to 5,000 steps around noon, definitely before 12:30, and take like a 15-minute break and then get back to it. We'll see how that goes, but that's the plan as it currently stands. And as you can see from those check-ins, as I was getting home, I realized a couple of things. I hit the 40-mile mark and I realized I had to pee. I also realized that I was starting to get a little bit hungry, but by the time I actually got back to the house, used the bathroom, and started drinking a little bit more water, it occurred to me that I was a little bit dehydrated and I probably didn't prepare as much water as I needed for the walking earlier on in the day. And once I started drinking fluids, I realized I wasn't actually as hungry as I thought I was. So instead of eating, I kind of just allowed myself to walk on the step pad, finish those last steps so that way I could get to 50,000, and then I let myself take a little bit of a break for the first time throughout the day. All right, we finally hit 50K. It's about 10 minutes to 12:30. Yeah, about 10 minutes until 12:30. So I am running a little bit more behind than I was expecting. Now I think what I'm gonna do is stretch a little bit, take a little bit of a break, and then get back to it in like 30 minutes. I can feel like my body starting to just get exhausted. Like I'm not hurting, I don't feel any impingements. My feet hurt a little bit, but for the most part, it's just like the heat that you have whenever you're walking for long durations of time. With that said, I do just kind of want to like take a break and get back to it so I can hit it hard. I feel like if I keep pushing it, I'm probably not going to hit 100K, so we're going to chill for 30 minutes. I'm making decent time. We're sitting at like 8 hours. Started just shy of 4:30, so overall can't complain. Still a shot for me to hit 16 hours, but I don't think that's going to happen. However, I do think 17 at this point in time still feels very realistic. Overall, I will say that even though my body is starting to feel it a little bit, my mind is pretty like good. Like it's clear, I feel focused, and I feel like I'm gonna get it. I just got done with my rest, shoes are on. I think I'm gonna walk another hour on the walking pad. Just a nice calm pace, get back into things. My calves are a little bit sore now that I've kind of taken a break from walking. Also fell asleep for about 15 minutes, best 15-minute nap I've ever had. So I'm gonna go ahead, knock that out, and then we're gonna go ahead and check back in at 75,000 steps. And it was here that I realized that I might not be hitting the goal that I set out as far as 16 hours went. It wasn't impossible, but I knew that I had to recharge my watch. It lost a lot of battery just being out in the sun, I think, as well as the activity and just tracking my daily progress. And of course, I had to ensure that I was giving myself a little bit of a rest so that way the next 50,000 steps will go smoothly. And while realizing that I probably wasn't going to hit the 16-hour marker, I was pretty confident that I was still going to be able to finish the challenge. And overall, I don't think it made that much of a difference from a mental perspective. I was still feeling positive and still feeling good. As I was going throughout my day, I think the thing that helped me stay focused and positive throughout this entire process was I took everything in between 25,000 segments. 25,000 segments where every 25,000 steps I took, I reset my mind and I kind of got into the focus of, okay, it's time to hit 25,000 more, we're going for 50K. All right, we hit 50K, it's time to hit 25,000 more, and we're going for 75K. And then, of course, from 75K to 100K, just reshift the focus and try to take it in chunks as opposed to looking at it from the entire perspective of 100,000 steps. So I didn't get as discouraged throughout the day. All right, we are 75,000 steps in for the day. It's about 5:20. This is a lot. My body's hurting and I'm starting to run out of stamina, but we're gonna keep it going. I'm gonna finish this mile here and then we're gonna move out to the walking pad and finish the day on that. Unfortunately, in a challenge like this, things are not always that simple. As soon as I got to 75K, I realized that the next 25,000 steps were going to be brutal. You can probably see in the footage that I just showed you of my raw reaction, I'm definitely a little bit more weary, I'm fatigued, and I'm starting to really feel the mental effect of going through the motion and trying to get these steps. I was outside a lot, and I think that also took a toll on me personally, just because the sun beating down on you hits different. And of course, there's the incline that you're battling whenever you're walking around outside. When you're inside on the treadmill, things are a little bit more steady. And while I was starting to feel the effects around 50,000 steps, I will say that physically, this was the beginning of the worst I was going to feel. Obviously, the worst I felt was at the end of this attempt, and it made me realize how difficult 100,000 steps was truly going to be. You could start seeing my times begin to slip. And of course, I was just physically not in it. Taking one step or walking one more mile was really starting to take a toll on my body, and things like my heels, my toes, knees, hips, pretty much anything you can imagine from the waist down was beginning to hurt. And not just hurting from a cramp perspective, but also from an impingement perspective. You start to realize the toll that, putting a little bit more weight on your right foot versus your left foot takes. And when you try to compensate with your left foot, then it starts to hurt. And because you still have 25,000 steps to go, it's a pretty significant toll. With all of that said, that kind of describes why I chose to go on the stepping pad, because walking indoors, I personally just felt like would take the stress of the sun coming down as well as walking on the incline off of my body just enough so that way I could accomplish 100,000 steps. All right, we are officially 80% done. I have hit 80,000 steps. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely feeling it, but I've just been walking circles around this couch right now. It's quicker than the walk pad and it's keeping me going. So I'm gonna keep doing that for these last 20,000, and then I will check in on you when I finish. It is currently 6:14. See if I can finish by like 9:30. I think that's like a realistic goal. 10 miles. Like, I know it's a lot to walk in your living room, but it's not that much whenever you consider the fact that I've been walking for 14 hours straight now. So let's finish strong. As you can see, I managed to hit 80,000 steps, and things were starting to kind of shift a little bit. I realized that I was 80% of the way done, and I was starting to rebuild some of that positivity and momentum that I had previously. And of course, it helps that I'm able to just pace around the living room and get steps in that way. While it does feel a little bit tedious, having the distractions of your phone, watching a YouTube video, or a TV that you can watch your favorite series on really was helping me kind of distract myself from the pain and keeping my mentality overall pretty positive. However, it wasn't perfect. I was definitely feeling the wear and tear on my body. Because of that, my mentality would slip from time to time, and This was whenever I think personally the challenge began to slip to the point where my brain fog was really starting to set in, and of course physically things were getting so difficult that I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to finish this challenge. Then I hit the next 6,000 steps. I got to 86,000, and honestly I just felt like I couldn't go anymore without some kind of food, so I went ahead and ordered Chipotle and decided I was going to take my second break for the day. And at that point I was about 15 hours in on the day, and I really just needed something to kind of unload and relax and just kind of take my mind off of walking as fast as I could to accomplish this. Alright, a quick update for you all. I am exhausted, probably hear it in my voice. I'm at 86,000 steps, so I went ahead and ordered food. I don't think I'm gonna make it to 9:30, whatever my goal was. The brain fog is also killing me right now, just throwing that out there. I'm gonna eat this and I'm gonna chill a little bit. I've only taken the one real break for like more than a couple of minutes where I would like sit down or like use in the bathroom or something like that. This is a beast of a challenge. I'm happy that I'm doing it, but yeah, I need like 30 minutes to just eat, maybe a little bit longer, and relax. We'll go ahead and readjust the goal to like 7:30 or 10:30-ish. It's currently 7:22, so we're gonna keep it moving, but I just wanted to give a little update, be as transparent as possible, and let you know how I'm feeling. The 80,000 step mark for me, that's when all the issues, like really, no kidding, are like everything's cramping. Not everything, but like my calves are cramping. I just want to be comfortable for like a minute, and yeah, the fatigue is like next level. I'm so tired, like I'm gonna sleep great tonight, but I'm so ready to like shower and just feel good for like even a couple of minutes. So this time I will not give you another update until I hit 100,000 steps. I keep saying when I hit 100,000, and then I give these random updates. So anyways, stay tuned, we're gonna make it. I think the one thing that I can say about this stage of the challenge was I was so ready to just have something be comfortable that the thought of even eating something that just tastes good almost felt like it was a reward in and of itself, you know what I mean? Like, you just wanted to take off your shoes, take off your socks, take a shower. Like, you've been sweating all day, you're actually past the point of sweating, so you have to take electrolyte packets, and those make you sticky because, you know, the powder and the water, and, you know, you're already sweaty, so like everything's just sticky, and, you know, your knees hurt and your heels, every single step you take, you know, on your toes, the knuckle of your toes, like that's swollen and just, it hurts, right? And you just want to get over that hump and just be comfortable. And because of that, time was really starting to move slower than I thought it ever could. But I only had 14,000 steps. Of course, at the time, it didn't feel like only 14,000. It felt like an eternity, and it felt like the time that I was expecting to finish kept getting pushed back, and it really started to become discouraging. It was difficult to walk, and even going around a couple of laps around the couch was enough to almost feel winded and just too fatigued to go on any further. However, there was still work to be done, so I managed to push myself and keep going as far as I could. Time and my body could not move quick enough by the time I hit 90,000 steps. My brain fog was terrible, and I was honestly forgetting to even capture the last bit of this challenge and showing, you know, the difficulties that I was suffering through whenever I was going through this, and really starting to finish, you know, this monster of a challenge. By hour 18, after 3,100 calories consumed, 4,100 calories roughly burned according to my Apple Watch, and one terrible tan line later, this was my reaction to close out this challenge. I'm not gonna lie, man, that last 10K was brutal. I've been in my head since like 80K, but we did it. Fucking Jesus, motherfucking Christ. That was hands down the hardest challenge I've ever done. It's not even close, but we fucking did it. As far as time goes, I started technically at 4:27, but I think I said 4:17 whenever I started filming. So we'll go off that time. I'm sitting at just over 18 hours. Just straight fucking walking. But we did it. I'm gonna go take a shower. As you can see, I managed to finish it. I don't know if you all had any doubts. I knew at every single point of this that I was gonna get through it. Yeah, there were times that were bad. Like in my head, I wasn't sure if my body was gonna wanna finish this, but in my mind, I knew that I was gonna get to 100K, and fortunately, I was able to. While the stepping pad did kind of set me back a little bit, or walking indoors may have set me back a little bit from a mileage perspective, I still managed to walk 49.84 miles altogether. And that doesn't include, the steps that I had to take while my watch was charging to make sure that my legs were still loose enough to continue throughout the day. There was definitely times where I sat down for a couple of minutes, and getting back up, my legs were so locked up and so tight that I felt like I honestly couldn't even take real steps. And that may have also impacted my ability to actually walk, a normal stride distance, which could have caused me to fall just short of the 50-mile mark. However, this is the 100,000 step challenge, not the 50-mile challenge. And overall, I'm happy that I was able to get this done. And after this was done, yeah, my mind was pretty much gone. I was definitely fatigued in that shot that you saw there. I was trying to come up with the words and the emotion that I was feeling at that time, but there really isn't one single word that can describe this challenge. Overall, it was, at times great, and it was exciting, and it was encouraging, and it was motivating, and it was therapeutic. At other times, it was brutal, it was treacherous. It honestly hurt me to my core to even think about finishing this. And there was times where I was looking up at the clock, and it just felt like torture. It felt like time just was not moving. However, finishing it felt like an accomplishment, and I also felt like, why? Why did I do this? And I think that's kind of the question, is why would I do this, right? Why would I put myself through this? And I think for me personally, there's a lot of different variables here. There are the variables like at work, us having a step challenge, and also seeing who can record the most mileage. The team that I'm on is the team that loses every year, and they try to make the teams as balanced as possible. However, I didn't want anyone to feel like they were gonna get away with just simply walking a couple miles a day. Some people even walked a couple miles throughout the week, and that was essentially it. But I don't think that was really the why behind all of this. For me, I think it goes a little bit deeper. I don't think that I grew up in the mentality of ever really like playing team sports or, having that stability, right? I never really leaned on people, and I always consider myself a little bit more of a self-starter. As a result, I think things like this really motivate me. It's the idea that somebody else out there is able to do this, and for me, that motivates me to train and work hard and try to see if I can match other people's intensity. Plus, let's be honest, it's cheaper than therapy. Overall, I have to say that this is hands down the hardest challenge that I've done on this channel, and probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever done throughout the course of my life. I've dealt with a lot of different things, graduating college, finding that first job, trying to get promoted through jobs, and working, for the government, and also working outside of the government, and trying to find that balance between my work-life balance, you know what I mean? Starting workouts, just different normal markers that you would meet throughout your life. However, I will say that this right here in a 24-hour period tested me mentally and physically, and honestly, I feel like I'm a better person coming out on the other side of this. It was extremely difficult, and once again, I do not condone anybody trying this, especially without training and getting your head right before going into something this difficult. However, I'm grateful for this challenge, even though I despise it, and I'll probably never do it again. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's content. If you made it this far, of course, I appreciate you. Please be sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, keep it together.